Hello everybody, I am Buck WSR Weezer. We're putting the do into do-it-yourself, and we are just about moving into snowblower season. So I got a couple of snowblowers here. This one I just did some maintenance on. It's in good shape and ready to go. But the one that's going to be the subject of our video today is this one right here. This is a Craftsman 5.5 horsepower, 26-inch width, and it's got a Tecumseh motor from 1996 according to the date code. And so let's just do a quick overview of what it's going to take to get this guy back in shape. It might be 24 years old, but I'll bet there's still a lot of life into it if we're willing to do some repairs. I say that because in my part of the country, snowblowers only get minimal use. They spend most of their life sitting in the shed, which is why I personally don't keep one for my own use. They just don't get enough use for where I live. But some people like to have one because you just never know what the winter's going to be like. Let's take a survey of what we're going to need on this guy here. Now, first thing I want to point out to you that we'll need to do is either repair or replace this gas tank. You see that big crack up there? Now I've got another video on how you can repair cracks and holes in plastic gas tanks, and that's certainly an option. But replacing it may be another good option if this is going to be worth the investment, if I can get one reasonably enough. So that's the first thing that will probably need to be done. As I look around this way, I can see that the starter cord does not retract. I don't know exactly why. The engine does not feel to be locked up to me, but for some reason this is not retracting as it should. Yeah, I can see I can pull a little bit, but it doesn't retract all the way. So I don't know what's up with that. While we're talking about this gas tank, I'm concerned that we're going to have, because if you got a hole like this on the top of your gas tank, if it sat outside at any point, or if it got covered with snow and then melted, guess what? You're getting water into your gas. That's making me very suspicious about the condition and quality of the carburetor. Probably going to need to replace, clean out that as well, located under there. Those are very inexpensive to get as an aftermarket part for $12 or $15 and not too hard to install. But we'll also have to do some repair on the discharge chute. I've already started to take some of this apart, but the biggest problem was this outer ring is cracked. So it's got this outer ring, it's plastic, we'll need to replace that. Then here's the inner ring, that's part of the mechanism for turning the chute. Here's the hardware from when I took it apart. And that of course fastens up on here and spins. As you know, rotates with this lever right here, which seems to be in okay condition. So we're going to have to get the inner and outer ring for the chute, discharge chute, new carburetor, replace that gas tank, see what's up with that pull string. I guess the question is all this going to this trouble and expense worth it on a machine that is this old? Well, I can't answer that for you. I just know it's fun to fix things. So let's get started. Well, I thought I'd start by restringing the starter mechanism. I didn't show you the whole process because I have another video which I will link to above where I take you through the whole thing, but it unbolts very easily with 4 3/8 bolts. I wind up against the spring tension. I wind up the spool and put a screwdriver in there to hold it in place, and then I insert the new string. I like to melt the end of it so it doesn't come unfrayed. And now we just got to release that tension and let the new string wind onto the spool. So All right, pretty much like that. I'll transition this old puller handle. It's kind of busted. Maybe I can see if I have another one. I don't think I do. We'll move that over to here, and I'll bolt it back up to the snowblower. And I used a little bit heavier gauge line than was on there before, but I think it'll get the job done nicely. I mean, a thicker line takes up more space, so you can't get as much on the spool, but I think we got enough on there that we'll be able to start this thing without any problem. Okay, good news, I found a handle. So I'll put this guy on instead of this old broken one, and that'll work out a lot better. It's always good to save your old stuff. Here's my box of old parts. One of the boxes anyway. All right, our pull starter is up, working great. So that's repaired. And now I come down to see about taking off this gas tank. Probably be hard to see. Hey, you know, one thing I did is I moved the snowblower onto a white piece of old shower curtain. You know why? Because when you work out here in the dirt and leaves, if you drop a nut or a bolt, you can kiss it goodbye because it's impossible to find. Now, I see 2 bolts under here. All right, he's loose. I just can't get him. All right, and here's another one over here. That is, this bracket for the dipstick tube is in the way, so just have to try see if I can get it with an open end wrench. Now there's a bracket here that it bolts to as well. A couple of these. That comes out. All right. So let me work on that a little bit more and we'll get this gas tank off. So maybe I'll have an easier time with the tank if I take this off. Now I think I can see back there to get to a 5/8 bolt that holds that oil dipstick pickup tube. Actually, it might be a 1/4 inch actually. There we go. Got my magnet. All right, so now this bracket comes off. Move that clamp for the dipstick tube out of the way. And now should be able to get to this 3/8. All right, so is this tank ready to come off? Well, there's the hose. We would have to take that down. Undo the clamp. I don't think there's anything in the tank. Nothing comes out as I detach the fuel line. Now let's see if we can get this tank off. Seems to be loose in here. I think I see over here it slides into this groove. There we go. Tank's off. Generally appears to be in decent shape with the exception of this crack across the top. That's just really unfortunate because that's just going to fill up with water. Alright, that's good. The tank's off. Now let's see if we can access his carburetor next. So as we're looking here, I notice a few things. There's a key, it's a plastic safety key that goes right in here. It's missing. Without that, your ignition coil will be grounded and won't fire or spark. So we'll have to eliminate that. Not a big deal. I also noticed this choke is very stiff. Alright, he comes off. Now, I think getting this cover off is 1, 2, and another one here on the back side, 3 1/4-inch screws. One, 2, 3, and he falls down. So a couple observations. You see this is that ground wire, but it really just clips on here, and by unplugging it, this key, the need for this key is thereby eliminated. So that's no big deal. We'll still be able to stop the engine by sliding it all the way down into stop, and that will ground out the coil for us. This is just a little safety thing. You could get one of those keys if you want, but it's really no big deal. It's not. So other observations here. Our hose for the primer bulb thing has come off, so that's not obviously going to work that way. That'll need to be fixed. But you see how this is all gummed up nasty. I'm just not even going to mess with attempting to clean and repair it. The throttle, I can't even turn the throttle lever. That's kind of frozen. Choke lever is kind of frozen. I'm just going to take this down. You got a 7/16 with a 3/8 in the back, same on that side, and we're just going to take it off and put on a new one. And those new cheap aftermarket ones, they're very inexpensive, and they're not great, perfect. Sometimes they're a problem, but a lot of times they're very easy to use, and they work great. So let's see, 3/8 here. This old carburetor is just not even worth messing with because it's so easy and inexpensive to replace it. So that guy comes out. Save him for later. Same on the other side. That's just a little bit harder to get to. Interestingly, the back side is a big Phillips head, so maybe I'll see if I can get one of those. Alright, that guy comes off. We could pry this guy down now. The choke mechanism will come with it, but we'll have to take that off and put it on the new carburetor when we get it. There's a small piece of linkage. It goes from the throttle to the to the governor, and I don't want to lose that. I also want to make a note of how it's connected. One of the best ways to do that is to simply take a photograph of it. And that's better than a quick photograph is better than a short memory. Alright, so that's coming off. We'll have to disconnect the fuel line here. Maybe a good idea for us to put some new fuel lines on this while we're at it. Alright, ease off. Now this linkage, and it should be free. There we go. Okay, so there's our carburetor. He's off. We got to save this linkage. Do not want to lose that little guy. We need to take off the choke mechanism because we'll transfer that to the new carburetor. Alright, so we're making progress. I thought I'd show you what I'm doing here to fish a new piece of fuel line through. It's not as easy as I expected. First I removed this cover. So the engine cover I think comes off. There's a 3/8 right here. Another one right here. And up here is another one. Yeah, don't lose it. Will that be enough to get the cover off? Oh. Yeah, I think so. But I'm not sure how much I gained by doing that, because I still have a very tight channel through here through which to pass the new fuel line. This might, however, give me a little better chance of getting to it. Yeah, that first part's quite good. Alright, so our new fuel line is through. I'll get some new clamps. We'll be replacing that fuel tank. We'll be replacing the carburetor. So that was a little bit of a hassle, but it was worth it to have a new fuel line. Alright, good job. Alright, well, here's our replacement carburetor. So let's work on that next. This is a made in China, aftermarket, $12.50, extremely affordable. And this is the Tecumseh part number. Can you see that? 640058A. And this will fit a lot of these Tecumseh snowblower engines. So, first thing, we'll install that. It came with a new gasket. That's always nice. New primer bulb and hose, which is really nice because I want to replace that also on this snowblower. A fuel filter, which I may actually incorporate into the setup, just as I just think that's a good idea, and a couple of clamps for the air hose on this primer. Yeah, I can talk today. All right, so as I had mentioned, we got to remove and transfer over to the new carburetor this choke mechanism. So that's just 2 screws. Did you ever notice that a snowblower never has an air cleaner or air filter? Why do you suppose that is? I've got my theories. And my theory is that it's not a dusty environment ever in which you would use a snowblower, is it? It may be a wet environment, but it's never dusty. And as a result, I guess they figure the need for a air cleaner, an air filter, is minimal. Now, you don't want other stuff like snow and water getting in there, but this cover pretty much takes care of that. But yeah, I've never seen a snowblower with an air cleaner. Alright, so this is all there is to that. Transferring the choke mechanism. And now we'll take this over to the snowblower and install it. Okay, I had put the hardware up here so as not to lose it. And so let's, the first thing that I want to do is connect this little piece of linkage to the governor arm. Because these are really hard to get in if you bolt the carburetor up first. So I like to connect these linkages first. Then I like to connect the fuel line, and you remember we ran a new one, but I got to get a clamp on there first, so hang on. Okay. Got our fuel line. Tighten him down a little bit. Just snug it up. All right. Okay, so let's get our new gasket. Can I bring the new gasket? I did. Here we go. This one in the back's a little harder to access. Coming together. Oops. The linkage came out. Okay, that feels all right. Okay, I think that's on there pretty good. That's moving good. Our choke, great. And connected our fuel line, that's good. So it's really all we have to do to get the carburetor up. Yeah, I think next I'll try to redo this, replace this hose on the primer, because that comes around and hooks in right there, but I got a new hose. This one is deteriorated anyway, so let's work on that next. And this guy might just be able to, make sure you can see what's going on here. It's an incredibly beautiful and sunny day, late November, and actually kind of warm. Yes, like so. Now, I think I should be able to do this without actually taking off the engine cover. Famous last words, right? I said that before at some point in this project, even though it's really not that complicated a thing to do. All right, so this guy is fed through here. I'm going to see if I can connect the two ends of the old tubing with the new tubing by way of a piece of tape and just kind of pull it through and fish it through the exact same route. Alright, you think that'll work? Just fish that through gently, pulling both ways. There it is. Isn't that amazing? Sometimes I amaze even myself. Old guy falls to the side, and there's the new one. Compare these two. Do they look the same? Yeah, I think that's going to be about right. And I've got a couple of clamps. Not sure how essential they are, but since they were included, try to use them. Alright, snaps in. That snaps in. Kind of hangs a little floppy, but alright, so then this guy comes around this side. He connects right here. Our little clamp. Alright, so that's it for our carburetor. Linkage is up and good. Choke mechanism is in place and good. New primer assembly is in place and good. And I think that we can put that that cover back on right here. So let me go find that and the respective hardware. Okay. This guy, remember him? Guess I should clean stuff off as I go. Unnecessary item anyway. That's good. Okay, that's it. Let's go talk about our new gas tank. All right, so I decided to replace the gas tank. And your first observation may be, well, they don't look like the same gas tank. See, I remember our crack here at the top. But, and though they are different, I believe they are compatible. And you'll be able to see that when we take a look at the bottom. I'm going to switch the cap over. But when you take a look at the bottom here, you will see that it really is the same. This one had the cutout here for our dipstick tube. This one has the, you know, this indentation here for the dipstick tube, so I think that's going to be fine. The only thing about it is it's a smaller capacity tank, the new one, and we won't be reusing this bracket that was, you know, part of supporting this tank. We don't need that. So we won't be reusing that. So they are a little bit different, but I do think they are compatible. For what it's worth, you're looking at part number 37048. And I bought this used. Let's go install it. I've got like a 1/4 inch more to go here. but I think I've got it as far into this clamp here, groove here, as it will go. And right here, I've got the switch for the electric start, and this edge of the tank appears to be obstructing that a little bit. Give you a closer view of that. You can see what I'm talking about. Right here, I may just have to, I may have to cut this out, just notch this out just a little bit to get that to slide in a little bit. Because you can see under here, it's sitting up a little bit high, and still has to slide towards the engine another 1/4 inch or so. So let me play with that for a little bit, see what I can do. All right, so my fuel tank plan was not as seamless as I had first hoped, but I think I've got a plan that's going to work. So I got it in place where it needs to be, but I had to do a couple of things. First is, I had to remove this, what do you call it, the electric start connector and switch. And I had it cut away here at the base of the tank so that it would fit in place. But now it's up there good. Still have to bolt it down. And then my plan is to remount this out here on the outside. My personal feelings about the electric start on a snowblower are they're an unneeded feature. If your machine's running properly, it should start fine on 1 or 2 pulls, okay? So this is a gimmick to me anyway, but I don't want to simply eliminate it, though I was tempted to do that. I could just take it off completely. But I think what I'll do is I'll find a way to bolt it right here so that we still have the option. But it doesn't fit neatly inside here any longer. And I'm not that worried about it. I think it'll still work out okay. So what remains is to bolt this tank down and make our hose connection and move on. All right, and up in here, and 2 of these. All right, that's good. And we'll put our bracket back on for the dipstick support. I'll remount this right here on the side there, and we'll be ready to move on to the next part of the project. I thought I'd show you what my plan is here for remounting this electric starter switch. You may have better ideas. But this is what I'm going to try. First, taking it apart, separating it, and then I'm going to use these self-tapping sheet metal screws to fasten it to the housing of the motor. So it does come apart. Got a gasket in there. So what I'll do is I'll mount this piece. I'm sure you can see this. I'll mount this piece and probably have to drill 1 or 2 screws through the plastic and put it up there like that, and then I will snap it back together and hope for the best. Okay, that's up there pretty good. Now on this baby, a couple of our posts that slide through here broke off. I think I might try to, should I just try to push it back together, or should I get some glue? You used up all the glue on purpose. Try to tap it lightly. There we go. It says here, do not use in rain. It's so interesting to me. Like, who would be using it in the rain? It's not a rain blower, it's a snow blower. I'm so cynical. I'm gonna put some black tape on these seams. Probably could have used some sealant or glue. I don't think it matters that much. Again, you know how I feel about these electric start things anyway. All right, so that's pretty good. Well, we are at the point where I think we can find out if this engine will run for us. Tank is up, gonna put some gas in it. New fuel lines. I know this looks a little bit much, but I really wanted to put in a fuel shutoff valve, which I like to do just to prevent flooding if the needle and seat should fail, and also so you have the chance to shut off the fuel supply at the end of the season and just let it run till the carburetor's dry, so you can store it with a empty carburetor bowl. I also wanted to put on a fuel filter just because. The bottom of this tank does have a screen where it discharges out the bottom, but I don't put a lot of confidence in that, and clean fuel supply is so important. So there's our remote starter for what that's worth. I have verified that we've got oil. So let's add a little bit of fuel and see if it'll at least fire up before we go with the rest of our repairs. Adding fuel. Fuel cap on. Let's open the fuel flow valve. And just see what we can get here. We'll add the choke. We'll prime it a few times. Hopefully we got fuel in the carburetor at this point. Let's see what happens. What's the worst could happen? Well, the worst could happen, it doesn't start. Well, I guess we should check and see if we actually got spark. All right, well, I know we got fuel at the carburetor. I verified that. I got a spark plug tester up here. I don't see evidence of it actually sparking. I know it's bright out here, but I should still be able to see a little bit of something in there. All right, we'll give this another try. I did find the ground wire pinched, and I think that was grounding at our coil. Subsequent to that, I was able to move the snowblower into the shade, and with the spark tester verified that we are getting spark. So let's give this a shot again and see what we can get. right, so we got it running, and that's a good sign. Now, it was surging. I didn't really like that. If I choked it, it would stall out. It seemed to idle okay. On a brand new carburetor, I wouldn't expect it to surge like that. And these things have really zero adjustment. So we'll see what we can do about that, but I feel okay with it so far, and at least enough to continue working through some of the repairs. I'm going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we will install that chute. But yeah, so it's okay. Once we got that spark issue resolved, it fired up on one pull, and that was good. Just not running quite as smoothly as I would like. Well guys, the last part of our repair project is to get this discharge chute mounted up again on the snowblower. So I'm going to show you the parts we need for that. That's these guys right here. Now this is the outer ring and the inner ring that go at the base of that discharge chute. And here's the part number for these if you're interested. The inner ring and the outer ring. These are used on a lot of snowblowers, not just Craftsman. So actually, these are actually Briggs & Stratton parts for their snowblowers, but Craftsman, MTD, Troy-Bilt, whatever it is, a lot of them have these. So this is your outer ring and your inner ring. So coming over here to the machine, the first thing I need to do is to remove that base plate. So let's do that real quick. And we'll walk through this process together. 7/16. Oops, dropped it. Losing stuff. Don't want to do that. So it's got the bolt and a washer below and above. So keep track of your hardware. All right. Now this one's a little tougher to get to on this side. I'll have to use a ratchet with an extension because the worm gear mechanism here is in the way of getting my wrench under there too easily. So oops. Dropped another one. Hey, getting pretty good at dropping stuff. All right, so it looks like the worm gear mechanism is also bolted into there. This is just a plastic component. Okay, so now we've got this released, and we're going to take our outer ring like that, and the outer ring, as you can see, has the notches in here that correspond to the worm gear drive, so we need them on that side. So if I'm not mistaken, with this on there, now we can bolt this back up. So let me go about finishing clamping this down, and then we'll come back for the installation of the chute itself. Now that we have the outer ring underneath this base plate, we are going to add the inner ring and the chute. So the chute has 1, 2, 3 places where the bolts go through. So this front one here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 places where bolts go through. So the front one will not engage the chute. So let's put our bolt through there first. Because that one's just a little easier to deal with. And we're going to do it in such a way that the flat head of the bolt is on the inside, so it doesn't obstruct the flow of snow and ice through the chute. I think that's how it was when I took it off, but it honestly has been such a while that I don't even remember. But that only makes sense to me. Alright, we will not tighten that down quite yet. So then the chute's going to come next. And let's see if we can get everything properly aligned. Okay. That one's through. Let me see if I can get the nuts started. Just get it. Don't have it pushed through all the way yet. We can get them all started first. Okay, that's that. Now it's just a matter of tightening those down a little bit. Alright, I think that's it. And we can step back and see the rotating action of the chute. That's pretty good. So it's going fully to the one side and fully to the other. So you got 180 degrees of direction with that. So that's pretty good. Well, I think we've done all our repairs, and now we just got to sit around and wait for the snow, right? Well, I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been enjoyable and helpful to you. I know it's been a little bit of a long one. One last question before we go that I wanted to address with you is, do you think it was worth it? The time that I put in, as well as the money, to get this thing back running again. I wanted to review what I spent so you can know exactly what I did put into it financially. The gas tank, though used, delivered, postage, tax off of eBay, I paid $25.48. The inner and outer ring for the discharge chute, again, postage paid with tax, $37.84. The carburetor that we put in was $13.32, delivered, postage, tax, and then there were some miscellaneous things that we had to put into it, like oil or string for the new pull line, miscellaneous things. What else did we do? All the miscellaneous things. We replaced the fuel line, the fuel filter, the fuel valve, oil, clamps for the fuel line, some miscellaneous things. If we say 20 bucks for that stuff, our total comes up to $96.64. So about 100 bucks just in parts, not counting our time. So the question is, do you think it was worth it? On some levels, probably not, but on other levels, probably so. I kept it out of the landfill. I had a really enjoyable time tinkering and getting it running again. And you know, to get one of these new, you're talking several $100s. So I think it was worth the time and trouble. If you had to pay someone to do this for you and pay their labor rate, maybe it would not be worth it. But if you're a DIYer like I am, you enjoy tinkering and keeping things running on your own, then I'm going to say, yeah, it was worth it. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you staying with me. Your comments and questions are also really appreciated by me, so feel free to leave one if you have one. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.